Hello, this is Shane Ashman again, and well, basically, if you saw my last video, I basically talked about my micro game, but now I'm actually going to talk more about of how I managed to get it to work. So I'm going to start with one thing at a time, so that way it's not overload being bombarded. I'm going to start basically with the basic assets, how I made them and stuff. And even though it's a micro game, there's still a lot you got to think about and go into it. So first of all, I talked more basically about I'm going to talk more about the still graphics first, which I made using Photoshop. Pretty simple, really. I'll give you these one at a time. So basically, it came to like the fonts. I use from Photoshop right here with these sort of settings. And then basically I just import it as like a PNG and I literally dragged it into Unity. It's really simple and intuitive to use. And basically that's a good thing about Unity is that as long as you got the right format and all that, it should work fine and you can resize however you want and it shouldn't like decrease in quality. It's really good. It's something like a makeshift vector free image which is useful online. And this basically was my title screen. Yeah, this one took a basically I had to make sort of like I made like a basic star screen, but then I made like sort of like a nebula. I put on one layer, and that was basically the use for my tile screen. It worked pretty well. It's pretty cool, as you saw in my last video. And again, I'm not like an expert or this amazing at Photoshop. Just you don't need to know too. The thing about Photoshop is it's kind of like a jack of all trades. You don't need to know everything about it to be good at something, just enough to like get you by. In this case, I don't need to know stuff about photo settings, like if I was taking photographs, because I'm not taking pictures. But making like basic images and stuff like that, like literally like all of these like shapes right here, like I use those like all the time to help block out my designs. It's quick and simple to the point, and I can color them in and sometimes I even use a custom. Somebody even use custom shapes right here down there, and I do that. Oh no, and I do that so that way I can use those to help display what I want to do in my game. Again, very simple and intuitive once you get your hand of it. Yeah, honestly, I think the only downside of Photoshop is just trying to get it. Yeah, I can't. Sorry, mate. So I can't help you with that one. Yeah. I got mine through other methods, which I will not want to disclose. But the point is that the point is I got this version for like other means. But yeah, that's the only downside basically of Photoshop is it's just hard to get it. Because besides that, it is actually pretty good. This is the 2020 version I'm using, by the way. Yeah, you don't have to, or you don't have to like keep updating every single time. This works just fine. Like, seriously. But I will show a bit of an alternative as well, which is completely free, which I also use for another specific purpose. But, yep, and this is my main background. This is my scrolling background. Yeah, it was actually a bit small when I first did it, so I had to, like, increase the size later on, because otherwise it was scrolling too quick and too fast, and it just kept being a bit more choppy. It wasn't that very good. Luckily, the game lasts between 10 and 20 seconds, so the scrolling had to be, like, too intense or big, but it's still it served its purpose. It was pretty good. It was nice and simple. And again, nice font right here. Made my base one with a star look, which I think worked really well right here using these effects. Again, there are tons of tutorials online on how to do this, guys. Like, again, just showing you how to do it. Like, I could only show you so much. You gotta take the initiative and look at it yourself. That's what I had to do. And all that with all the text and fonts, like that's part. And again, this is just for an assignment. This is exactly why I want to work in a AAA industry, because I want to go into game design. But I know for a fact that I won't be doing anything near like this in the future if I were to go into game design. Maybe bits and parts of it, but it wouldn't be my main focus. That's the thing you'll think about if you're going to decide to go full indie. All these little jobs, it all builds up, and that's why people usually don't go indie on their own and usually get a team. Okay, next image. And this is my video screen. Basically, I actually made this sprite right here in another program, when it's imported it here, it adds a kind of nice hue and glow. And I think it works really well with the victory screen. Like, you've done it, you protected the planet. Yippee! It's something as simple as that. Yeah, but I made the font separate from the screen, so that way I can move the fonts however I want in Unity. And so I could also use the TextMesh Pro fonts as well, but I prefer the ones here as well. That's even easier. But it's not like I need to edit. I only need to use the TextMesh Pro font if I need to make code to edit the actual text, like how high my score is. With this just a title screen, like just the literal title, you usually can do whatever you want with that, because 9 out of 10, that's not going to be like edit. That's not going to be like interactive with too much, depending on the game you're making. And as for game over sign, basic, red. Again, a bit more pixelated, but yeah, again, it gets the job done. Again, that's why people use like game over, like it's like an iconic word. I mean, if it's not broke, why fix it? I mean, it's pretty much stand the test of time. That simple words. Like I have a victory screen right here, or basically I have here called victory, but I could have said level complete, which is also iconic. But it wouldn't work in this case because I only got like one level, and it's like a micro game. If it was like a full-on proper level, even if it was just one, that would make more sense, maybe. But not for a micro game, which is why I stuck to victory. You see, these things seem like pretty obvious, but they don't at the get-go. Once you get going, you really that's why it's important to plan ahead. And here's my game over screen. Basically, just tinted the stars, and I made this fog effects. Basically, I literally got this from another program, which I made, which I'm going to show in a bit. Actually, which is going to show a little bit actually of how I made fine animations. Imports it in, add this cool fog effect, and it really shows that yeah, you failed, basically. Yeah. However, though, all these screens also, of course, I had to make sure that these screen sizes were exactly the same as basically or in the game. It had to be in the had to work in the vertical sense, not horizontal, because most space shooters are in vertical. Unless I couldn't have a horizontal one, but the vertical one has made more sense, especially if you're going for more mobile look. Maybe I want to put my game on mobile. If it's a vertical, then that's much more appealing than having horizontal. And that's this one. Oh yes, this one right here. Basically, let's go zoom in if I want. There we go. Basically, with this one right here, yeah, I managed to make the sprites work perfectly fine. But the thing is, I wanted these lasers to glow, and I tried to do this in Unity, but but when there's a pipeline. But oh man, when I did it, everything was glowing. I just wanted the lasers to glow. It was so annoying, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna do it myself. And luckily it was much easier to do than just figuring it out in Unity. So yeah, again, sometimes you don't have to do everything in one program, do it somewhere else. If you want something to, even if you want a particular object to glow or something or whatever, just make it glow in a separate program. If you wanted to, especially if you wanted to glow like all the time, constantly, it's only if you wanted to glow at a certain time, maybe then probably then you might have to use Unity. But well, actually, technically, no, you wouldn't need to. You just make two separate images, one that didn't glow and one that did. Then make probably a simple script in Unity that switches between them two. So actually, no, technically, you could still do it like this. It could also be the fact that I used that older version you used at the time, but I've updated the latest version, so that might have been a problem as well. Or the fact that using pipeline in 3D is better than 2D. But I digress. So that's basically the assets which I use for like most of my still backgrounds. Simple and to the point. The other fonts I use like for typing instructions, those are straight from Unity. That's from TextMesh Pro. I just type those in myself. But that was just for the still assets. But what about the ones which involve a bit more movement? Well, I did it with this. This is Pisco. It is completely free, and I pretty much use it all the time with all my 2D projects. It's fantastic, and it's also online based. You can actually install. You can, if you want, install the desktop version. I guess if the internet doesn't work or whatever, or with really bad internet, I suppose. But even so, this is extremely extremely simple software, and it does the job just well. And it also import it as not just PNGs. You can have full-on GIFs, and even better, it also imports the whole thing as a sprite sheet. Then in Unity, I just have a simple matter of cutting it up and then putting it on my animator, and it most part usually works great. It's the only reason it might not work well probably is if my animations don't look that good or a bit wonky. But then the hard part comes in trying to put those animations to work with the game. In my case, that wouldn't be much of a problem, and I'll show you why in a different video when I talk more about the literal code and editor. But anywho, here are the assets that I made for Pisco, the important ones. Basically, this is my laser. Now notice that it doesn't glow. I had to import this, basically all of my sprite sheets. I import the sprite sheet into another program, and then had to make each frame like glow, particular glow, so that way it has a cool glowing effect, and it worked like a charm. Now I want to, because you know, lasers glow. Basically, it's a laser. It's like a beam of light, and they glow. So not have a glowing laser doesn't make any sense. So yeah. But it is 6 frames long, and it's just literally switching from one color to the next. See, so white so I have white switches places with that, and purple switches places with that, and and so on and so forth, and it's going back and back, and then eventually this goes all the way down to there, and it works like a charm. Yeah, simple and to the point. And the glow effect makes it even better. This is my next one. This was basically enemy spaceship. I made it wearing like these colors. I made it a bit more menacing. Also, you may notice this silvery white outline, this grey outline. My background is completely black, and basically my original outline is actually like black. If you have a black outline with a black background, then it's not really going to work. So make sure your outline sort of doesn't blend in with your background, unless you have a background that isn't black at all. But even then, it may not work from time to time, so you got to make sure to accommodate for that. Either that or have some kind of hue in the background, or some small tiny light source which shows your outlining. But this is literally like there's 4 frames, and it literally just and the only thing it's animating is this. I need to animate the spaceship, just the frames themselves, and it works just as fine. As for actual movement, that's all down to the code. Yeah, this gives the sprites give the illusion of movement. So basically, it's basically like in a treadmill where you're moving, but then using the code to actually get the actual movement. Sprites give the illusion of movement, and the code actually properly moves it. I combine them both together, and it works pretty well. And this is my player spaceship. Again, 4 frames, extremely simple and not complicated at all. One is more like a sparkly fiery glow effect, something different compared to the fire one, just to be a bit more unique. And again, had a nice sort of like greyish background. Simple and to the point. But yeah, the other thing basically when it comes to creating sprites, it's just practice. Look at tutorials and how to get proper movement. And in this case, this doesn't take nearly as long, because it's just these assets are mostly still, except for one part of it. Making a walking cycle is a lot tougher. Yeah, that's for my other assignment, which I talk about a bit later on my channel. But lastly, adding the glow effect. How do I do that? I put it into this. This is Quitter. And basically, I was part of the background now because that's how I was like before. But basically, I had to go into these settings and change the hue, literally, of each of this. And also, I made sure the background of it, and even though the background, is black, but it's actually see-through like before. That's just how it looks from there. That's literally what I did. I literally changed the hue and made them glow. I probably could have done this like in Photoshop, but it was easier to do it here, and offer the same result. But one other thing though is that you can actually make changes between each. You can actually make changes between them without having to go back and forth and re-import it again. What you can do is when you go into Unity, when you open a certain program and then make changes, it asks you to save. And if you save it and you click on it, then all the changes you made to there will automatically apply to Unity, really going back and forth. It's a fantastic shortcut, actually. It's really useful. But I'm going to show that off a bit more when I talk more about the Unity code. But yeah, those are basically my assets. Simple and small and to the point. And yeah, but also importantly though is that you need to think carefully. You need to make sure that the programs that you're putting in are the ones you can actually use. Otherwise, you're going to make it for a bad time. And you're probably wondering, what about all those sound effects I made? Yeah, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you guys, sound effects are not my strong suit, so I did look up some free ones online, but then I edited them using this, Audacity. Audacity is also completely free, and it's super simple to use. It's fantastic. You can literally just use Audacity, and that's what I've been using so far, and it's just great. Really, really useful. It's simple to the point, and it just works. It really is as simple as that. So it's great to just use in general, especially if you're doing stuff like in 2D or anything. But again, if I was going into game design properly, I wouldn't be anywhere near music most likely. I think even if I was doing multiple jobs, I wouldn't see me working in the music department if I was going into game design in a job in the game industry. That'd be something completely different. But it's good to at least know that and show you guys that I can do a variety of stuff. But yep, that's basically all there is to it for basically all of my assets. The microgame isn't very long, so there wasn't that many assets to begin with.